Your sidebar conversations to the absolute minimum. I would like to invite Pastor Morris to the podium to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance and invocation. Please stand and join us if you choose to.
Any preference which one you want first?
We usually go prayer and pledge.
Prayer and the pledge. Father, thank you for just a time as this. You have us here for specific reasons, all of us for this time. Thank you for having not only your eyes on Spring Lake, but your hand on Spring Lake, Lord. We need you, and you said if we call out for wisdom, you give it liberally without reproach. So I pray a prayer of blessing and wisdom, and your will be done here in Spring Lake. Bless all of the Aldermen board, the people chosen to lead, Lord. Let them hear your voice, follow your voice, Lord, and lead us to where you'd have Spring Lake to be. Thank you for a great town, great people, and Lord, let your name be lifted high, and we thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Pastor Morris. I will now call for any additions or deletions to the agenda. Alderman Placio.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to add presentation for Yard of the Month for the month of May. And I do see a Board of Elections chair here. Do we want to add her as well?
She's already.
Okay, I missed that. I'm sorry.
We got it.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, any other additions or deletions? We will add Yard of the Month to presentations, agenda item F.
Thank you. Did you say S?
F. All right, if there are no other additions or deletions, I will call for approval of the agenda. Mayor Pro Tem?
So moved with the addition.
Alderwoman Thompson?
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll now approve the consent items, the draft minutes of the April 8th, 2024 regular meeting, the draft minutes of the April 22nd, 2024 special meeting, draft minutes of the April 22nd, 2024 work session meeting, and the dissolution of the Special Events Advisory Committee. There is a summary page in your agenda packet letting you know what's happening with that, and what's happening is you're dissolving the Special Events Advisory Committee and making it an in-house committee that's only involving staff, simply because all of our events only involve, when we're preparing for it, it only involves staff being streets, police, fire, EMS, planning, and I'm missing somebody. Public safety. So the committee is made up of only employees simply because they make the decisions. So involving outside community on decisions that's solely in the hands of staff, it's kind of unnecessary. So that's why that is on there, to be removed or dissolved. I'll now entertain a motion, Mayor Pro Tem.
Just real quick, before we do that, can you explain to us, or should we put it as a, item? I just want people to know, we did vote on, I'm not sure if it was an ordinance or whatever. Can you explain to everybody what's gonna happen with that?
Well, it'll be updated. The policy or the ordinance will be reflective of the change, stating that with it becoming an internal policy, we'll just dissolve that completely, the ordinance for the Special Events Advisory Committee.
I thought you were just updating the bylaws.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
The committee, no, it's the whole structure of the committee is changing to remove the citizen input and make it an only in-house committee. So the Special Events Advisory Committee, as it stands, needs to be.
There was an ordinance for it, there was this bylaws.
The bylaws.
Or ordinance was for for any events.
So, and I know this was ran through our attorney, and he said the same thing, that it just needs to come before the board for dissolution, and then we change what we updated in the policy.
So can we remove this from here and get exactly what happens to what was voted on before, how that goes away and this, or this is kind of not, it's not clean right this way, to me.
Ms. Randall, did you have any input on that?
Actually, what I thought was, and the clerk just corrected me, was that it was actually adopted by resolution, not by ordinance. And so we'll have to look into that. If it was adopted by resolution, we'll come back and clean it up. But I think it's a matter of just cleaning up the bylaws. I think the Special Events Committee always has the option of doing the bylaws as opposed to the board.
Correct. That's where we just approved, they created.
We didn't adopt it by resolution, we only adopted it by bylaws, we voted on it.
We voted to adopt the bylaws.
Correct.
And so
It
do we
wasn't
just
by,
need,
it wasn't by a resolution.
so do we just need to amend the bylaws?
Correct.
So the committee does not need to be fully dissolved and reestablished?
You just said that you wanted, and all I understood was that you wanted to dissolve the citizen input and just update the bylaws. That's what I was under the impression.
So what we'll do is we'll take it off, we'll get the exact procedure for it. And we'll put it back on our next meeting so we can go ahead and get this, committee cleaned up. I'll now entertain a motion to approve the consent items, removing, agenda item 5D.
So,
Alderman Palacios?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll now move on to public comments, and we'll begin with Ms. Betty Sanford. Please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record.
I am Mrs. Sanford, 104 Wapiti Drive, right here in Spring Lake, in the Deer section. And happy Mother's Day to you ladies. Okay, I'll check you in out later. Listen, I have a few things that I want to say to you, and I would like a reply. Not tonight, but put it in a letter or put it in Facebook, however you wanna put it. But I want a reply for everything that I'm saying to you tonight. Understand? All right. One is about transportation. Now, I take people to town, take them to the doctor and stuff like that. We need transportation here in Spring Lake. Enough is enough. You know, we need that here in Spring Lake. People go to doctor's appointments, they wanna go to the pharmacy, they have different places they have to go. But ask the private people in the community if they can take them these places, you see? And not all the time can they get someone to take them. And you know, my neighbors don't mind doing it, but we need transportation here in Spring Lake. And I'm serious about that. And the other thing is, I'm about sick of driving to Fayetteville to do things for the children. We need something here in Spring Lake for our children. Enough is enough. Bowling, we need a skating ring, we need a little YMCA. I shouldn't have to go to Cameron to go to the YMCA to do exercise. It's not making any sense, okay? And the other thing is, we need to do something with our rec center. I am tired of going up those steps and everything is doing one of these numbers here. You see what I'm saying? Because if I mess around and fall down, you know what's gonna happen. And I'm sure your attorney will let you know what would happen. We need to fix it up. Update things in Spring Lake. That's what we need to do. The other thing is, we need to clean up. I'm so sick and tired of seeing all this here. These houses, grass and growed up, trees all over the place, all over the houses. Why? We need to get that taken care of so people can come and live in Spring Lake as opposed to driving to Cameron, Sanford, Raleigh, and all those other places. We get these things built up, then people can move here.
Ms. Sanford?
Yes?
That's your time, ma'am.
Okay, can I do this right now?
No, ma'am, I'm sorry.
Okay, all right, I'll do this.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, I wanna hear from you.
Thank you. Our next, public comment is from Ms. Ivy Grant. Please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, everybody. My name is Irene Grimes. I live at 3918 Colorado Drive in Hope Mills. I serve on the Board of Elections in the county, and I'm here tonight, for one, to tell y'all that we will have an early voting site in Spring Lake, which, and I have two things I want to say to you. One is I want to thank Alderman Palacios and Alderwoman Cooper, Alderman Palacios came down and spoke at our meeting. Alderwoman Cooper has been involved with the Board of Elections and getting information and giving information for a very long time. And I want to single out your mayor, who y'all just need to go listen to the recording, because she is so passionate about the town of Spring Lake and spoke very eloquently and very, very passionately about Spring Lake having an early voting site. So, and those three are a huge reason why that voting site passed. As a matter of fact, after the meeting, somebody said to me, he said, so you want a voting site everywhere somebody comes and speaks for? And I said, yeah. So you can put one in Wade? Yeah. You know, so it matters. It matters that you all are involved and that you all come and advocate for your communities. And lastly, I have an ask. In order to keep the voting site, and in order for us not to have to do this every couple of years, we will need your help. And we will need your help in twofold. The Board of Elections is 700 poll workers short. So we need poll workers for November, and the recruiting starts now. I know it's a bad time because holidays are coming up and all that, but we will start training in August and September. So in order to get through the paperwork, we need to start recruiting now. And you all know that when you walk into a precinct, the people that greet you there are my age or older. I'm here to tell you that we want your young people. If somebody's 17 years of age or older, they can work for us. They get the same pay as everybody else. They get the same training. And I will tell you, it looks awfully good on a resume or on a college application to put that down as community service. I have some brochures here that I'm gonna leave back there on the table, but you're also welcome to either contact me, contact the Board of Elections. We all have the same information. And lastly, take your family, your friends, your mama, your daddy, your neighbors, and take them to vote to your site in Spring Lake, because we need to kill them with the numbers in November. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And our last person for our public comments is Mr. Derek Montgomery. Please approach the podium. And state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Derek Montgomery, 101 Alexander Lane, Spring Lake, North Carolina. It is good to be here, and I greet all of you, and I want to commend you for the work that you do. Over the past couple of years, I know it has not been as easy. It's been a lot of sacrifice for you all. So I want to come as the chair of the county party, of the Democratic Party, and just encourage you all to continue to do the work that you're doing here in Spring Lake. We've done a lot of advocacy work with our Board of Elections to make sure that we maintain a voting site here in Spring Lake. And so I wanted to come, and generally our first vice, Erica Burns, comes and she represents us so well, and I thank her for that. But I want to make sure that you all know that I want to work with you and to ensure that we get as many of our folks here in Spring Lake to the polls. For the last month, we're already knocking doors here, talking to the citizens here in Spring Lake about voting and the importance of voting. And so I want to make sure that you all know that I am wanting to hear from you about what you feel we may be able to do as a county party that will help our residents here in this area turn out to vote so we can maintain this site. That's all I have for you today, and I thank you all to continue to do the good work you do.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll move on to our presentations. I am going to begin with agenda item A, B, and C. They are all proclamations which have been emailed out with your agenda packet. They are also on our website and our social media sites. We are acknowledging the importance of mental health awareness. This is Mental Health Awareness Month. So check on the people in your circle, just to do a wellness check to make sure that they are okay. Tap into any mental health resources in the community and disperse their information. It is of critical importance to make sure that we're just checking on each other. So be cognizant of mental health and do your part to assist someone or even yourself in making sure that you are taking care of your mental health. It's also National Public Works Week. We have our Public Works Department. We want to make sure that we acknowledge them for all the hard work and dedication that they put in every single day. They do a very hard, very thankless job, and so we want to make sure that we're recognizing them. It is also Police Week, and so we want to recognize our law enforcement officials who put their lives on the line to ensure our safety in this community. So make sure you thank a police officer, shake their hand. We got one in the back for you if you need access to one. We've got some cops on site for you. But reach out and thank our law enforcement officials for the work that they do as well. I think it's pretty cool that they combine Mental Health Month and Law Enforcement Week, because those two should go hand in hand, and not just making sure that they're out taking care of the mental health and situations in the community, but that they are looking after their own mental health. Our police officers are on high alert every single day that they put that uniform on, and even when it's off. So just make sure we keep that in mind when we're talking about our police and when we're talking about mental health. So I will now move on to agenda item B, and I will pass it off to Mayor Pro Tem for our National Cities, Towns, and Villages Month proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor. May has been deemed National Cities, Towns, and Villages Month. That's in honor of the 100th year anniversary of the National League of Cities, which was established in 1924 at the University of Kansas. And as the year moves forward, we will continue to celebrate all cities, towns, and villages, and we will convene for our 100-year celebration in November in Tampa Bay. And I don't have the dates right now, but I'm excited about it. They have a van that's been going to different cities and towns. They've already been in North Carolina, so I don't think we're going to get a stop, but yes, so I'm happy about that celebration, and I hope you celebrate with us.
Thank you. We will now move on to agenda item E, which is our update on the Spring Lake Parks and Recs renovation plans. Mr. Michael Gibson.
Thank you, Mayor and Aldermen. I haven't met, some people I have not met. My name is Michael Gibson. I'm the Parks and Recreation Director for Fayetteville Cumberland Parks and Recreation. The update that I'm going to give you, there's some, there are different parts to it. If you look at the PowerPoint presentation, oh, here we go. I can click that. The first slide that you see up there is Mendoza Park. Mendoza Park has some challenges. One of the things that in the agreement with the county park, with the county, what we try to do is, most of the outlying areas or the unincorporated areas or the incorporated areas that are in the district, if you have one park or two parks, what we say is that those parks will look no different than the parks that are in the city or in other districts throughout the county. Getting Mendoza to that level is going to take some creativity and funding. The funding that the Spring Lake community has put forward to that effort to make sure that Mendoza looks the way it should look, is not gonna get us there immediately. One of the things that we try to do and we want to do is to take advantage of our buying power within the organization, and then take advantage of opportunities that the playground environment, some of the opportunities that we have that we use in other districts. I want to make sure to bring your attention to this one. I'm not sure if you've been in some of the parks that are in the city. We just finished a park over at Honeycutt where we put in a Kiwanis Recreation Center, that we put in a new playground. If you're familiar with the Tokay area, this is one of the playground units that we just put over there. And just to give you my vision of what Mendoza should look like. When you go into the park, you have an area where you have multiple play units now. What we need to do is change that philosophy of having so many different playgrounds in one particular area. And what I would like to do is come and put one major playground unit and then put a lot of swings and climbing apparatuses in that environment. So that when everybody goes there, you get out the car, everybody go play. It doesn't matter what age you are. Now, you're supposed to stop at 14. So there may not be anything for kids ages higher than that in the playground environment. But what we're trying to do is make sure, because Mendoza takes a tremendous traffic. There are tons of people who go there, and we want to make sure that once we start to work on that park, that it can manage the traffic that goes there. And right now, it's not doing that. One of the things that we want to be able to also do is work on the trail system, work on the turf environment, and then work on the bathroom that's there now. We need to update that bathroom so it manages the amount of people who use it. Some technology, some updated fixtures. The building needs some attention. So if you go back and what I'm trying to do is, that play unit is about $180,000. Well, in September and October, there is a $1-for-$1 thing that some of the playground manufacturers come out with. We want to be able to take the funding that Spring Lake has and then maximize the amount of money that we can get for every dollar that we put into the play unit. So if that play unit is $180,000 and we say, okay, we want that one, then it's only going to cost us $90,000 because they put a dollar in. Putting the rubber and the concrete around it, that's probably another $35,000 to $40,000. But then you have longevity. You have a playground that can handle traffic that'll last you about 12 or 15 years without having the mulch that goes up under it. The handicap accessibility for children who are challenged, they still have the ability to use it and not have to worry about going through mulch or anything like that. So we're trying to make sure that if you're in the district or if you're in the city, everything looks the same. There is no difference from people going to one park that's in the Parks and Recreation environment. So getting to that place and then maximizing those dollars is being able to take advantage of opportunities when they arise, and then being able to move on that whenever you get the opportunity. So I want to make sure that the aldermen and the mayor understand that there is no lull in what we're trying to do. It's making sure that we maximize your funding. And that's going to take some maneuvering, but we believe that once we finish with what you see out there, you'll be proud of it. Even so far as going in with the shelters that you have there now, we've done it in the city, is re-roofing, adding value as far as resurfacing the concrete, adding better poles to it, putting up new benches there, so that those existing structures now have sort of a updated feel to them, so that the people who come out and use them can maximize their entertainment or their ability to enjoy the park when they're there. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Any questions?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Gibson, for putting this together for us. I just have two quick questions.
Right.
Do we have a timeline on, any sort of installation or when, because the community is saying, yeah, we hear it, but when will we see it?
Well, it's just like with the playground unit. When they come out with the one-for-one deals, just like anybody, the playground manufacturers, they look for optimum times. Most of the times, people, when they're doing playground units, they do them in the spring of the year, or the summer, and then the one-for-one comes out in the fall. So you already spent your money and now you don't have any money. So we're looking to do that, and we've tried, and the numbers that they sent us back a couple of months ago were not, I was disappointed. Had a few words with them, because we do good business with them, but it was disappointing. So we're gonna, have that conversation in about 60 days as to what those numbers and what those opportunities look like in a couple of months, and then see what that value is. Budgeting for the county comes out in June. They should be finished with it. So we're gonna see what extra value is in there that we can apply. Overall, even your turf environment where the grass fields are at, we need to make sure that those fields can handle the pressure from the amount of people that's out there using them. I've come out here a couple of times on Saturdays and Sundays. There are a lot of people who go to Mendoza Park. And one of the well, let me take that back. Don't nobody write it down. Spring Lake manages a lot of other communities that are not in the county. So you have a flow of people who use your facilities but don't pay taxes. So how you deal with that, and it's no different than when I'm talking to people who live in Grace Creek, I'm talking to people who live in Wade and Falcon, talking to people who live on our borders. There is nobody standing there saying, okay, let me see your license. That doesn't happen. So you have to manage that pressure. So how we go out and we change Mendoza to handle the pressure of people who live on our borders but come in and use our facilities, it is an ism. So you have to deal with it. And how we do that here is gonna take dollars. So, and my intent is not to disappoint you in what you see once your money is starting to be spent. So being careful, watching the money, making sure that we're maximizing it, taking advantage of our buying power, and then being able to say we've done a good job, and you can be something you can be proud of. It's sort of like a rebirth. You can go out and cut another ribbon. But I think if you give us a little patience, the product that we finish with and what we finish with Mendoza, and then we also want to be able to, some of your other outlying parks, we don't just want to walk away from those and not do anything. There needs to be some kind of improvement in this facility, so then maybe we can get some of the pressure not to come to Mendoza, and they'll stay in their communities and use those parks that they see there. That'll take some effort, that'll take a few dollars. So once we finish, and we're working on how that flows through, because once you get a playground installer here, if there's an opportunity to resurface, reclaim, fix up, then you can use him to go do something else while he's in town, so you don't have to pay him twice. And if you make a mistake, you don't pay him twice. So we want to make sure that we do everything necessary, and once we get started, that this happens. No different than paving your trail. If we're gonna pave a trail in the city, or we're gonna pave a trail in somewhere district, then we just add your tonnage of asphalt to that trail system. So now instead of buying 50 tons of asphalt, we'll buy 100 tons of asphalt. Just go put the other 50 in Spring Lake. And all we have to do is then pay a fee for travel or setup. So that's the benefit of being in the district. We buy and we can use the buying power. So we're trying to line up all of those things. We're getting ready to do a trail on at Lake Rim behind the Bill Chris Senior Center. So we're looking at how we time that to make sure if we have that opportunity that we can do Spring Lake and add your volume into that. So there's a lot of moving parts. We just can't mess it up, so so hopefully you'll invite me back in 35 or 40 days, get an update there, and then I'll have better information, and budgets will have passed, and then we can see where we stand. I know that was a long answer.
No, but that's a good answer, we appreciate it, we need more detail, as much detail as possible. My second question was, how do we help you? What do you need us to do?
Well, I mean, you know, you already gave us your money, so that's a big deal. I think making sure that, and we'll do a better job of making sure that we put information up on TV7 within the Parks and Recreation environment, answering questions. One of the things that we'll do is once we get set, is we'll put up a nice sign, coming over in Mendoza, coming, here's what we plan to do, so people will have some information. We're not afraid to put a phone number up there, so if they wanna call and they have suggestions and they wanna, if they don't think our ideas are good enough, then they can give us some input and we can work through that with the community. Those kinds of things will happen.
Alderman Blackman.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Gibson, thanks. We have citizens out there that are watching, seeing what's going on, what's things to do that's in the community. And it does start with the Parks and Recs. It starts with having things for the kids to be able to do out there. And so I appreciate you, and I'm looking at Ms. Sanford as I'm talking here. So if you wonder,
I don't wanna turn around.
So if you wonder where I'm looking at. But the community involvement, the calls, the emails that we got when equipment was coming down at Mendoza Park, and also amongst the board members, we were giddy, we were excited when some of that old equipment was coming down, knowing that things are in the works for that. There was some resistance, and this was a long time coming to get where we're at today, and I appreciate your explanation. And one of the things I wrote down here is I want you to come back and give us an update as we go through here. That's kind of the missing part, so that we can get the information out to the residents, so they can be proud of what we have, not only Mendoza Park, but the other parks, so that it gives our residents a reason to come out and celebrate Spring Break. So that I do appreciate. Thank you for coming out, and we're glad to be able to get that information out to the citizens. Right, Ms. Sanford?
That's right.
Thank you. That's all.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much for this. We have been waiting for it, and, we were giddy about the new equipment. But I heard you say that there's a lot of traffic, and I'm pretty sure, because I've been out there, it's probably soccer and baseball, right, softball, right? And we, in Cumberland County, we do have the communities and schools, right?
Yes,
So, and the money to fund the schools comes from the county, right?
yes.
So what if we use some money from the county to fix up Spring Lake Middle to relieve some of that pressure? That school could use a little bit of love, and if you fix that up, there's baseball that can be had there, there's soccer that can be had there, and that's probably not that expensive of a fix to relieve that pressure.
That's not a Parks and Recreation call. That's a
Well,
school
then-
system call.
But it's still, the county funds all of that, right? Still funding from
The county funds the school system, yes, ma'am.
Right. So if you update that and so people wanna go there and have their games as well, relief of pressure from these.
Well, you
I
guys
can
don't
make
update
that statement, but I don't control their purse string.
Right, I got you. But is that something we could present to?
Oh, I can definitely, I talked to them about a lot of stuff, I can talk to them about that.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it would be an opportunity. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Roy?
Mr. Gibson, I want you to back up to your slide of the playground, please.
Go ahead.
You referenced the cost of that thing at $180,000.
Mhm.
I just want to confirm the cost of that at $180,000.
It
We're
could-
doing
it could-
that for everybody who hears, these things are not as cheap as
Oh,
people
my
think they
goodness.
are.
Oh, my goodness.
You have ADA access issues, you have things like trip and fall hazards, you have, just the bolts have to be covered, all kinds of things that come with this to create a safe environment for our kids and children to play in. And so it's just not cheap, I just wanted you to.
Oh, yeah, they don't back up off that price now.
And so with that, how much funding do you get from Spring Lake? I'm in the thick of the budget right now.
Right now, the funding that we have to do, Mendoza and the other park is $200,000.
Okay.
We're gonna make some magic happen with that. But,
Plant a money tree out there.
But-
Do what you can, please. I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
Exactly.
I'm just trying to highlight there's
It's a lot of
input
money
and
now.
there's an output.
Oh, my
And,
goodness,
you
it's a
know,
lot of
You
money.
can't be all things all.
No, that's true, that's true. But but our intent is not to disappoint, and to make sure that we do right by Spring Lake as we do with every other organization
That's right.
that we do. So we're asking for that patience so that we can do the things that we normally do. It just may take a little bit longer than, what the citizens, but the finished product will be worth the value that we put into it and the time that it takes to make sure that Spring Lake can say our park is just as nice as any other park that you can go to in the district.
And that 200,000 is an annual expense.
No, it's a one-time expense. What happens once we get it up to the level that we wanna get it to, the basic maintenance to make sure that the park is well kept and it handles the pressure, it will be substantially a little bit less than that. That's why we wanna go in and fix everything. We wanna make sure, just changing out the fixtures in the bathroom will be about $20,000. And that's just the price that we pay, and then using staff to install. If somebody else went to install those, then that number would be substantially higher. But those are the kinds of things where automatic flushers, automatic hand washers, automatic hand blowers, all of those things help maintain the park so that staffing is not stressed out maintaining the pressure that comes in. And those are the kinds of things that we have to do. We've done them at Mazurek Park, we've done them at Seabrook Park. Those are the kinds of things that Spring Lake has to have. So how we get there and how we manage that, it's in the buying power. But if we spend $1, those kinds of monies need to be spent to add that kind of value.
Well, so what's your annual funding coming out of Spring Lake?
Don't hold me to that.
Oh.
I think what I have to do is to make sure, because all of it, the rec center, and I did send an email about the fencing, to make sure that you don't fall down. But I wanna make sure that we're doing the budget now, so I just need to see what that bottom line looks like and it's hard to say, because the same guys that are maintaining Falcon, Godwin, Wade, if you're paying them 8 hours, 2 of those hours are spent here. So it's not fair to say that if they show up here, they're spending 8 hours in Spring Lake. So how we divide that amongst all of the parks is a little bit tricky, but you still get the value. Even as I had to have a conversation in the budget about the amount of acreage we mow in the county versus the acreage that we mow in the city, and how you divide that 20/80 per person amongst the district. And it takes some time for people to understand it, that when you see the truck pull up and 4 guys jump out, you're looking at the Wade paying for that truck, Godwin paying for that truck, Eastover paying for that truck. So it's spread amongst all of the district. It's just not Spring Lake carrying the load for those guys jumping out. And how we divide that and how we get that number over to yourself, the town manager of Eastover, Falcon. At the end of the day, it's sort of like pennies on the dollar, just because you're in the system. So if we send out guys out here to cut trees down, well, everybody's paying for our tree service when that guy comes out internally. And how you do the math with that group of people If you're outside the district, it costs a lot more, but if you're inside, you take advantage of the buying power and the number, so. It's not as expensive, but you gotta get to the place where the park manages itself, and all we're doing is pulling up, cleaning it, mowing it, making sure that it repairs, buying quality stuff, making sure that the citizens who, when they go, their park is nice, so it takes a good bit, but we can do the math and we'll get that number to you.
I concur.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Are there any other questions from the board?
Yes.
Alderman Palacios?
Thank you. The funding, I believe, is taxing Spring Lake citizens at 5 cents.
Yeah.
I think that's a little over 200, but, the funding that we got from the state, can you guys remind me how much that was? Did we get funding for?
That wasn't for, it was only specifically for Muddsburg Park, or Veterans Park, the two parks that are still, owned by, or controlled by town.
Thank you. So, Muntzburg, is that something we are expecting the county to help us with at some point?
They are, right now in the moment. Tiffany, Anderson, Ms. Lynn, they are working with Cumberland County Parks and Rec for, the revitalization of Muddsburg Park. Lynn, correct me if I'm on the numbers on the financing for that. We did put up money for Muddsburg, but this was from state funding from before.
Yes, that was that 200, if I'm not correct.
So that was a state, funding, one-time state funding that we then sent to Cumberland County Parks and Rec specifically for Muddsburg, but that does not involve our other parks. That was only for Muddsburg.
All right, that's what I
And
was.
then the 100 for veterans, that's not the interest that we gained, they come with.
Thank
So,
you.
and Mr. Gibson, so a lot of the parks, they operate based on dawn to dusk. After dusk, do parks get locked up, or is it kind of just, you're expected not to be here?
You're expected not to be there.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Thank you. so
All
much,
right,
Mr.
thank
Gibson.
y'all.
We'll reach out again, we'll have you back. We're 30 to 45 days, that was the request? All right. All right, we'll move on to our presentation, agenda item 7F, yard of the month, Alderman Palacios.
Thank you, Mayor. So Yard of the Month is an opportunity for us to honor our citizens and neighbors who operate and maintain and beautify their property in a way that overall beautifies Spring Lake. So we have 3 winners this month for Yard of the Month. And if you're here, please rise. But we have Deborah and Cavetta Wynn. The Wynns are previous winners of Yard of the Month. We have Arthur Johnson off of Kristen Avenue, and Terry Cheney off of Hunting Bay and Deerfield. All right. We thank our citizens who help keep their property and make us all look good. We'll get these certificates out to them.
Awesome. We will now move on to agenda item 8. It is our public hearing. So this is a consideration for a special use permit to allow for alteration of an existing billboard to upgrade one side to digital display in CP planned commercial district on 0.28 plus or minus acres located at 102 North NC Highway 210, submitted by Deanna Stevenson, agent on behalf of Jason Smallwood, the owner, Mr. Timothy Dorson, planner, Department of Planning and Inspections. Please go to the podium.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm sorry, can you introduce yourself, because we haven't met you before, have we?
No, I'm brand new.
Awesome, well, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Timothy Dorsam. I'm a Planner 1 with Cumberland County Current Planning. I am here on behalf of Current Planning to present BOA-2024-0007. So thank you for letting me speak in front of you all tonight.
All right, are there any questions from staff or excuse me, from the board on this? Well, I will now declare the public hearing for BOA 2024-007 open. And I ask if there's anyone here to speak in favor of this Again, is there anyone here to speak? Okay, awesome. Please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Yes, ma'am. Jason Smallwood, on the billboard, lease property at the location, 102 Ellington Highway. Okay.
Do you have anything to say about it?
Appreciate your time tonight. Looking for consideration and hopefully approval of the alteration of this billboard sign from one static panel to a digital board for the south-facing panel down Bragg Boulevard. And we're here for any questions that you may have.
Thank you. We'll have questions at the end, and I can invite you to answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anyone, last call, anyone here to speak in favor of this request? Is there anyone here to speak against the request?
Where's this billboard gonna be?
Maybe you have to approach the podium and state your name and address for the record. Thank you, Ms. Sanford.
Okay. Ms. Sanford, where is this billboard gonna be?
It's located at 102.
Is that right there at?
102, it's right next to the insurance, Mr. Darden's insurance company.
Where all that chalk is, where all that boards and stuff is?
Yes,
Yes, sir. Can you go back to the picture with
It's
that?
already a billboard.
where all the wood is right now.
That one, right
It's
there.
just going to digital.
Yeah. No. Cause that's where all those boards and all that stuff is up there. Need to be cleaned up before they.
Man, this is only for the billboard. We have to discuss the
It
billboard.
don't make no difference. You know what I'm saying? Let's get that cleaned up.
Is there anyone else to speak against this, request? Last call for anyone to speak against this request. If there is no one else to speak against this request, I call for, questions from the board. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah.
Alderman Palacios?
I just wanted to ask, because the billboard itself is actually pretty small. It's probably smaller than most digital billboards. Is that accurate, or it's just a small
I'll
version?
answer that. The sign, the actual face of the sign measures 14 feet tall by 27 feet wide. That's actually not a standard size. And so the total square footage of it currently is 378 square feet. We would actually prefer to make it a little bit smaller and make it a more standard sign. So a more standard size for us would be 10 feet tall by 36 feet long, which reduces that square footage by 18 feet. So it would overall be a smaller size. It would just be shaped a little bit differently.
Yeah. Would that change impact this permit?
So if they're wanting to go to a smaller size, we can amend the conditions to make reference to the fact that they'll go to a smaller size of a 10 by 36, I believe you said. And we can just kind of amend the conditions to add that in per the outcome of this hearing.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Was there, I noticed that this did not go before you all, it came straight to us, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It went directly to Spring Lake for consideration for a special use permit.
Is there a reason for that? Was it?
Oh, it's because in the use matrix, the billboards have to, in CP and C3 zoning, the billboards have to go through a special use permit procedure that's purely within Spring Lake's jurisdiction and the Board of Aldermen to decide. The county doesn't have any jurisdiction or authority to make any decision regarding the special use permit, since this is fully within the city limits of Spring Lake.
Alderman Thompson?
So basically, just so that everybody knows, it's already up, obviously it's already a billboard up there, you all just want to make it digital, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Any other? Please, first podium.
Oh, just one side.
Yes, ma'am, just the south-facing side, not the side that faces up Lillington Highway, so it wouldn't
Gotcha.
impact any residents behind the sign. It would face further down Bradville, it would just face down Bradville.
All right, thank you. Alderman Lockman?
And that was gonna be my question on the illumination on there.
Yeah.
What type, are we looking at strobing illumination, are we looking at soft lighting, are we looking at kind of what for the billboard? So one, you're looking to go, one, you're looking to go smaller, so that would be the amending of the conditions for that. But two, the illumination is only on the south facing side, but
There are currently lights on both sides of faces that shine up at the faces.
right, I understand that, but the illumination of the digital billboard, are we looking at strobing lights for?
No, they're LED lights, and they are, they're self-adjusting so that at night, when the sun is not shining, they automatically dim so that they're not too bright, because they have to be brighter during the day because of the brightness of the sun, but at night they automatically dim so that they're not as bright.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you so much. I now declare this public hearing closed, and I will, that's it. I'm gonna move on to, agenda item, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Agenda item 9A, discussion regarding our work session meeting agenda layout. At our last meeting, we discussed some changes, to our work session agenda. A draft copy has been provided in your agenda packet. So I will now entertain a discussion around that, if there is any. This was the draft that I believe Alderman Palacios requested to see before we went ahead and made the motion on the agenda. Alderman Palacios?
Thank you, Mayor. So I do see on the draft agenda that there is presentations that is no longer in there. And, but under new business, it does still have the reports. But I thought based on the new works session that it would not have reports.
Yeah.
Which I'm okay, with. I do actually want the reports personally, even though in November when we discussed this, I did agree that we could take them out. But anyway, that was my opinion on it, so what everybody else's opinion.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mary. And also, although this is the draft, we do have the ability to add presentations if needed, correct?
Yes, that's via our, help me, because I'm kind of.
Rules of procedure.
Thank you. Rules of procedure. We are allowed to add a presentation. However, we're trying to keep all presentations to the first meeting, but we do have the authority to add a presentation if we need to. We also have the authority to vote during the work session meeting if needed.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. So are we going to go ahead and leave the reports in, or do you guys want to take them out, leave them in? All right. So I'll now entertain a motion to approve the draft work session agenda as submitted. Alderman Lackman.
So moved.
Alderman Palacios.
I second that.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. We will now move on to our new business. This is to entertain a motion to approve BOA 2024-007, consideration of a special use permit to allow for alteration of an existing billboard to upgrade one side to digital display in CP Plan Commercial District on 0.2.8 plus or minus acres located at 102 NC Highway 210. Alderman Palacios.
There's a specific way we have to read this, right?
Yes, you have to read the
So let me
entire,
read it correctly.
or you can just say so moved. I just read it.
Well, there's specific,
But we had adjustments too.
no, but there's,
This is the one we're talking about.
Right.
There was no adjustment.
Something about the size.
They're changing the size, but that's after we approve it here or deny, whatever we do here. Then, correct, you guys will take that back to make the change on the size.
Correct. Once you approve with that condition, we'll go back and amend the accepted conditions to reflect the discussions here tonight.
Okay, yeah.
So, what I meant specifically was that in granting special use. No, I thought we had to in the past.
Never before.
Okay. Any, do you agree with that?
I agree because it's, quasi traditional, so, no.
All right.
They gave you the evidence, so now you can make a decision.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just trying to make sure we get it done right, not have to bring this back again. So moved, Mayor.
Alderwoman Thompson.
I second.
Any discussion? Alderman Lockman.
Yes, ma'am. As we go forward here, I'm in agreement with this, as long as the signage is only on the south facing side for the illumination, that it does not come to the north facing side, is what I'm looking for, so that our residents out there aren't disturbed by light. So, just wanna make sure that I'm clear on that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We will now move on to agenda item 10B, the ordinance number 2024-02, an ordinance amending the charter of the town of Spring Lake, North Carolina. This is for our name change and term limits. Mayor Pro Tem? So moved. Alderman Palacios?
I second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll now move on to, 10C, ordinance number 2020, did I see one? No. 2024-3, an ordinance declaring road closures for First Friday on Main. And this is for all, subsequent months from June to November. Nothing's concrete for First Friday on Main. We just have to make sure we get the budget stuff done. If we can get it approved in the budget, then the domino will fall subsequently, with sponsors, vendors, entertainment. We've reserved the stage. Everything's already in place. Again, we're just waiting for, to see if we can get it funded through the budget. Although we still are soliciting sponsors, to offset the cost from the town. We really want this event to be, free and paid for with sponsorship dollars at no cost to the town. But we had such a major success with it last year, and that is more than I've heard about taxes and trash. I have heard about First Friday on Main. So this really got people excited. So I'm glad to see it back on, but this ordinance is simply for the road closure. So I will now entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2024-03, an ordinance declaring the road closure for First Friday on Main. Mayor Pro Tem.
So moved.
Alderwoman Thompson.
I second.
Any discussion?
Yeah. When it comes to notifying business owners, can we have a structure on ensuring we do that?
There is. Like I said, everything is already in place. There's been notifications for businesses and for residents in the area. There'll be notifications for road closures and detours. So the good thing is that we did get a chance to do a couple of run-throughs last year, and our departments from police to fire, streets, EMS, planning, they feel a lot more confident in the layout. We kind of adjusted from the hiccups we had last year to make sure that we don't run into those things again. So notification and advertisement is of higher priority this year, so we can make sure that our residents are aware that the event is happening, and that the residents and business owners on Main Street are aware of what's taking place. I don't know what these lights are for. Yes. Alderman Lockman.
Mayor, I appreciate that, and also by letting the business owners and the residents know, I would like to see that. I know that we're looking to vote on this tonight. I haven't seen that, and that's something that I would like to see.
Nothing's going out yet, because we're still in the planning phase, and we're not gonna put any information out, and then it doesn't get funded in the budget, and now we've gotta go back and retract everything. So we don't wanna put the cart before the horse. So before we start notifying people that things are gonna happen, we wanna make sure that it can happen.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, I haven't seen this to see, what I hear that you're saying, this has been worked on, been done, I haven't seen that, so.
Come to our special events meetings. So you'll have all the information firsthand. All right, anything else? I'll now entertain a motion to approve, or so, All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I will now move on to 10D, the appointment to the Regional Land Use Advisory Committee, which is RULAC. RULAC discussed the land and activities surrounding military, or the community surrounding military installations. And I was offered to chair this committee, which is a huge thing. I was very excited and humbled by such a magnificent request. But I have humbly accepted it, and in order for me to take this position, Deanna, who has served as our RULAC designee, will no longer be our RULAC designee, because in order to be on the board, you have to be the designee for your community. So we'll be changing it, if approved tonight, we'll change it from Deanna to me so that I can take over as chair for RULAC. I'll now entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2024-3, ordinance to, nope, that's road closure, appointments. That helped me tonight. Appointment to the Regional Land Use Advisory Committee, Alderman Palacio.
So, I don't believe we appointed Deanna, I thought you did.
No, it's a board thing, we voted on it, so I have to pull the minutes, but it was a board decision.
I found it. It was, she was voted in, or
We
appointed.
voted her in.
Yes,
I always thought that was appointed.
no, it's a board decision, it was early, it was mid last year?
I can't remember, but I know.
If you need the minutes.
Has she been notified of your
She
intention
has
to
been
dethrone
notified.
her?
She is not dethroning, and Deanna will absolutely still be 100% involved in RULAC. And anyone who wants to come to the meetings is more than welcome. It is an open meeting. If you want to know what's happening in your community around or associated with Fort Liberty, then you are more than welcome to come to the meeting as well as the board. You are all welcome to be there. Did we make the motion? I mean,
So moved.
is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All right, we will now move on to our mayor's report. I will be as brief as possible. We had a long break between our last meetings due to the additional week in April. So we had a few things happening. First, I want to acknowledge our new town manager, Mr. John Rory. This is his first meeting. He has been rocking and rolling. Yeah, that definitely deserves a round of applause. He has been rocking and rolling and getting really comfortable and settled here in the town. And I personally am more excited than I can actually express from the dais that John is here. And I'm highly impressed already with the work that he does and that he's continuing to do, the amount of information and resources that he's pouring into all of our staff, myself included. So again, I'm immensely grateful that John is here and onward and upward for the town of Spring Lake. So thank you, John. I also want to acknowledge some training that's been happening. Myself and Carly, our town clerk, Ms. Autry, had a chance to go to our, it was financial management training offered by the league. This is a 4-hour course, accredited course that goes, 6-hour course. It says 4, I think, but it was 6 hours. That goes towards advancing municipal leadership training. So all of these things are tracked by the North Carolina League of Municipalities, showing that we are consistently trying to stay on top of, governance and training so that we can be our absolute best for the community. We also, Irene already let you guys know that we have our early voting site, which was spectacular. Thank you, Alderman Palacios, for attending that with me. It worked.
Yeah.
We will continue to fight for Spring Lake. We will not be silent, and they will not take away resources. I don't care if it was one voter in Spring Lake, we will have the same access as everybody else. If I got anything to say about it. So myself, Mayor Pro Tem, Alderwoman Chadwick had a chance to attend City Vision, more training, more learning, more resource, more access, more networking. Again, what we try to do is stay on the cutting edge of what's happening in government, not just from the services we provide, but from the legislative perspective. We're getting updates directly from the legislature as they happen. We've got representative with boots on the ground at the General Assembly that keeps us abreast of what's going on, and they let us know, hey, pay attention to this. Make sure your community backs this. That's where Mayor Pro Tem received our last proclamation from. The league is critically important in keeping us abreast on what's happening. And she definitely takes part heavily in leadership positions with the league. So again, very, very good things coming out of City Vision. We also, I did not write down lunch with the mayor. When is it?
It's May 29th at Chopsticks.
May 29th at Chopsticks, 12 p.m. Yeah, I promise. And she's got the calendar already prepared, and it's written on board office. I always want you to come. I just never remember where we're going to eat lunch at that day. But Chopsticks, 12 p.m. on the
Wednesday, May 29th.
See, Miss Sanford was listening. FAMPO, our Fayetteville Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, the people who control your streets. They control the expansions of the highways, the greenway trails, your walkways, things like that. FAMPO, we just released our 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan that is available online. If you want to know about the expansion that's happening right up on 87 at Nursery and how that's going to affect Spring Lake. You want to see how the road projects that are planned for Spring Lake, and there are only 2 small ones. They're all in your the FAMPO MTP plan. So please look at that, stay current on what's happening in our community. We had a mural unveiling, which I know Alderman Palacios is going to talk about quite a bit, but it was absolutely fabulous. Guys, I am a painter. I painted the red wall, not the balloons, but the red. I did that. And we have some special birthdays to celebrate. One being the 4th. The May the 4th was with us when we celebrated our Mayor Pro Tem's 21st birthday on May 4th. So happy birthday, Mayor Pro Tem.
Happy birthday.
She's our resident Yoda. She's Yoda for us. The 4th is with her. Sergeant Zamora celebrated a birthday. Firefighter James Ward, and our wastewater operator Marvin Lee all have celebrated their birthdays, and are about to celebrate their birthdays this month. So big happy birthday to each and every one of them. Huh? Steve's birthday? Oh, it's Steve. Okay, we're recognizing Mr. Steve Wing, who'll be celebrating his 15th anniversary with the town of Spring Lake. That's pretty darn awesome. So happy birthday to everybody, and that concludes my updates. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. As the mayor stated, we did go to City Vision, had a great opportunity to talk to State Auditor Jessica Holmes, who gave us some really uplifting information from her seat. And we both invited her to come and speak to us, to our community. I'm hoping that she will take us up on that. Immediately after City Vision, I was home for one day, and I had to go back to Morrisville to do some training with Democracy NC so we could get voter turnout up. So thank you to everybody who's gonna be working on that. And also working with National Council of Legal Women, because we are one of 8 states that are highly targeted to increase voter turnout. So I've also been slated to help with that. So we need everybody to show up and vote. I will be calling you and asking you. You know, I know one of my champions here, Ms. Bonds, I know I can count on her, but I'm going to be asking people to help us get the vote out. You know, we need as many votes as we can to keep that early voting site in Spring Lake, so that, you know, they don't give it to us in vain. Other than that, so glad Mr. Rory's here. I already learned so much from him, and something that he teaches in strong towns. And luckily, in City Vision, I met somebody who was like in the top 4 from town, New Nation, so we learned so much. Glad to have, our other board members here, especially Alderman Blackman, who has been traveling afar. But thank you so much. Next time, bring a friend. So we can fill the room, because we got good things coming up, and we want you all to participate. If they can't come, tell them to watch it on YouTube.
Alderwoman Thompson?
Yes, Special Olympics torch run is coming up on 23rd May at 1 p.m. Registration starts at noon. The race will begin at, First Baptist Church on Main Street, which is located at 201 South Main Street, and it will end right here at Veterans Park. Volunteers are needed, so if you're interested, you can call Sergeant Utley. His number is 910-985-1818. Again, that's 910-985-1818. And also, I think, if I'm not mistaken, EOG is taking place this week for the kids, so make sure the ladies get plenty of rest and a good meal before, and so they can do well on this test. I'm just advocating for all the women.
Thank you.
Yes.
And that's all I have.
My sincerest apologies, Alderman, that's why we need to be commissioners. Alderman Blackman.
Thank you, Mayor. To our residents out there, the banner program has now closed, and very shortly, you will see the streets department out there on Main Street starting to put up brackets, and the banners will go up before Memorial Day, providing that the vendor sends those to us in a timely manner, but everything is on track for that. So those that have done the banners, requesting the banners to be hung in Spring Lake, just wait. You are in for a treat. It's coming. That being said, we have Memorial Day. Memorial Day will be May 24th at 11 a.m. here at Town Hall, and all are invited. So, Mayor, board members, town manager, clerk, people, if you'd like to come up here for the Memorial Day event, please come on up here. The park is being renovated, so it has been moved up here, just because all it is just kind of grass and it's work in progress as we go through here. I know Mr. Royer will probably touch on our Friday little tornado cleanup, storm drain, okay, he's got that. That just leads more to, we need to start bringing back the neighborhood watch program. As a citizen, we had contact us that was telling us, giving us minute by minute update on what was taking place in one of the communities. I think that would probably be a good thing to start with new leadership, town manager, police, fire, back full force. Kind of look at re-engaging the neighborhood watch. So schools are going to be letting out. This is another way to kind of keep an eye on things that are going on. People are traveling, but we don't want loss of equipment, car break-ins, different things. So the neighborhood watch program might be something that we look at bringing back. Also, June 1st cleanup. Mayor, we're back to cleaning up the town. It'll be June 1st, 8 a.m., Southwest Plaza. Any and all are invited to come out and help clean up. If there's churches that want to have a church cleanup around your area, let us know, let me know, so that we can get the town of Spring Lake cleaned up and looking beautiful again. Right, Ms. Sanford?
That's right.
Thank you. That's all I got, Mayor.
Alderman Palacios?
All right, so I believe this is our last meeting of the month, isn't it?
No. Oh, yes, it is. Memorial Day.
Last meeting of the month.
Okay.
All right. Now, we have a new mural, if you guys don't know already. And so we thank our appearance committee, we thank the Greater Sand Hills Chamber of Commerce for putting that together for us, and the citizens who all came out and helped paint that thing. So make sure you go by there and take some selfies, but we appreciate that. We also have an RFP out that was ended today. However, there are 2 more artists that intend to put in their proposals tomorrow. So we'll have a new mural, hopefully, if everything goes well, by Veterans Day is the intention. So we're excited about that. I did want to touch on early voting, because some of you don't really care about this, but let me tell you how important this is. So we went, the mayor and I went to that meeting. there were people actively trying to stop bringing early voting back to Spring Lake. Okay? That's how important it is that we have it here. You know, everyone in Spring Lake would have to go to Fayetteville to go vote early, and honestly, that's just nonsense. And when you move around early voting so much, it becomes an issue because people don't know where to go. And I went there, and I didn't plan to go to Fayetteville today, so I'm not going to go do that. And with transportation being an issue, as it is here in Spring Lake, you know, we've got to make sure that we have consistency. And as Irene pointed out earlier, and some of the others, making sure that we keep it. It's not just about going to a meeting and advocating and speaking up. It's also about showing up. And we have to show up to go and vote in order to keep it. That is the number one thing that they're going to look at to make sure if Spring Lake is going to be worthy enough to get it again. Unfortunately, it's not. You know, we need to consider accessibility. You know, they want to look at numbers sometimes, and I get it. You know, it does cost. Not only does it cost to have early voting, but it also takes people to work there. And so the county has a reasonable expectation that we can't just put this out there if nobody's going to show up. If one person shows up, that's enough, you know, but anyway, that's why I mentioned that, because it is very important. So, and we can lose it if we get another person in there that wants to fight against it so much. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman. Mr. Rory, did you have any updates?
Boy, do I. You're a tough act to follow in terms of the good news. So, 13 days into this, what have I learned? Quite a few things. And so there are a few topics that I do want to bring up. So not only for the board, but also for our public, our citizens that are here. So first and foremost, let's talk about the storm event. And to do that, I think I would rather just read to you as opposed to try to even have that here, believe it or not, from Chief Williams. You know, I pulled this up. Did you have it, Mayor? Here it is. Earlier, the mayor and the board talked about proclamations for public works, for police. There was no proclamation for fire, but public safety in general, police and fire, public works. So it's important for us to note the boots that we have on the ground, day in, day out, 24/7. That was evidenced just Friday when we had the storm event. And so I was updated today by Chief Williams, and this is his writing. During Friday's storm, 10 houses were damaged and 7 roads were blocked by falling trees. Recognizing the severity of the situation, I promptly called in more firefighters and Steve's crew, whose expertise and dedication were crucial in the cleanup and ensuring the safety of all homes and all people. We had 2 backhoes running, cleaning the trees from the roads. No injuries were reported except one firefighter who fell and hurt his knee. Paperwork to follow. There's the bureaucracy we got to deal with that. We ran 23 calls in that time frame. The roads were cleared. The power companies were on site within 3 hours of the tornado hitting, and I will have pictures and full reports soon. It's worth noting what these guys do every day. And so we do a proclamation. They're the boots here, 24/7, 365. They're responding when everybody else is doing the best they can just to take it, weather the event and stay out from underneath it. So on my drive into town today, I saw trees still down on the reservation. So it's worth noting that these guys hit the ground during an event and cleaned it up and delivered a high quality of service for our residents and our taxpayers throughout the town. And so it is really important that we continue to recognize those guys for the thing that they do, day in, day out, and all of staff for what they do day in, day out, to try to make this a place. Ms. Sanford, forgive me for applying one of your concepts, to make this a place where people want to live, work, and play. That's what they do every day. And so we need to commend them for that. And so I stand to recognize the police and fire. Second thing I want to talk about is here's where it's a barrel of good news. The mayor mentioned that Hurry Carly went to a training session on municipal finance. In that training session, they were probably taught a few things in regards to a budget calendar, It's driven by North Carolina General Statute 159. And in that, there are two topics I think that are of critical concern. One is that the budget requests from the departments should be submitted to the budget officer prior to April the 30th. Then the budget officer has to take that information and compile it and present it to the board as a balanced budget by June the 1st. I received those budget documents last night. So I've spent all day combing through the budget documents. I've met with the same boots on the ground, the police department and the fire department today in terms of their budget requests moving forward. And so it's interesting to note that the current revenue forecast for fiscal year 2025 budget, and I'm not talking in absolutes here, is standing at roughly $8 million. This is for the general fund. I'm not talking about stormwater, water, sewer, anything, just the general fund. So the projected revenue forecast is at $8 million. The expense for the budget request is at $9 million. So we're right at $1 million difference between requests and revenue. So what does the budget officer have to do? He has to balance that budget and present a balanced budget to the board by June the 1st. Whoever the budget officer is, we've had this conversation over the last 13 days too, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, by June the 1st, someone's got to figure out where $900,000 is going to come from and present it to the board as a balanced budget. That's what I mean about a barrel of good news. We're working on it. We started today. We will continue to diligently work on it and try to narrow that gap in between the two. And then it comes down to what do you present in terms of how do you change the revenue side, how do you change the expense side, so it's a balanced budget. Obviously, it's more taxes or less expenses. It's really just that simple. So, not that easy, but that simple is how you have to kind of look at it. And so with that, you also received the financial report, the update dated as of March 31st, 2024. So note that it is still a month behind in that how much budget has we used, how much have we received. And so this report, I got this Friday, so I know that you're getting it late, just today on your desk. I get it, I understand. That is not what we're trying to do. We're trying to get it to you before the meeting in advance so you can review it and analyze it. Because it's the first thing I do, review it and analyze what we're trying to look at. So just kind of a quick snapshot in terms of this courageous conversation where we're at so far. Our revenues are running about 25% short, which is not uncommon because, or actually 30% short because of the number of months that we've already consumed or already went by. And so we should have 3 months left where we should be about 25% of revenues instead of 30. So if we realize a 5% shortfall in our revenues, that delta in and of itself is about $404,000 short. Then we'll be having conversations about appropriating from what fund balance we have, things of that nature. So this is how the money moves and how the targets look at. And so that's what we're looking at with these financial reports. Key among that is a shortage in the property vehicle tax. Basically, that money is going to the county. The county's not releasing it quick enough. So I will be having a conversation with the county relatively soon about, you know, the goal is for them to keep it in their county as long as possible. I understand. Because it becomes interesting.
That's a conversation that we started before, and we still haven't received any answer back. So this is, we've been pushing to say, hey, give us our funds.
Now, the good news is that staff in total are not spending as much as they could have spent either.
Good job,
So they're
Sam.
being very, very selective in terms of not doing certain things, and they're trying to be careful with it. And so if we kept this tracking as normal, we would anticipate spending about 86% of the budget, not 100%. So now that it goes like this, now all of a sudden you could be adding $500,000 to the fund balance because you didn't spend it, even though you could realize a 5% revenue shortfall. It's really just about how you put the numbers and how you look at them. So the idea is to keep focused on that. So as of today, I will be doing what's called a PO freeze. We won't be issuing any more purchase orders until the end of the year unless it's an emergency or it's continuing costs that we deal with. And the reason for that, it keeps folks from emptying their buckets at the end of the year. And it also keeps us from having to deal with PO carryovers into the next fiscal year. And then that automatically skews the numbers going into the 25 budget and the 26 budget. So we're moving forward on that. Water sewer fund, pretty good shape, nothing there to note. But I do want to talk about one little piece of the thing that comes in the budget documents. You'll see it on your page 5. There's a note down there that says cash balance in the investment account is $12 million. That's good. Check, good. Cash balance in operating account, $694,000. It could be a little better, right? Now, but it's important to note, cash balance is not the same as fund balance available. Y'all know on the 22nd, I spoke specifically about how much we want to target for fund balance, unrestricted, whatever it is. And so fund balance available is not determinable until financial records have been audited. So I'm trying to get, working with the LGC and the finance department to come up with a best guess estimate. When I get that best guess estimate of the fund balance, I'm likely to hold it real tight because that's what it is, a best guess estimate. I don't want it to be considered to be absolute. And so we have to make sure that we're looking at these expenses, the revenue and the expense side, to add to the fund balance, grow the fund balance. The only way, I met with our finance group this week, the only way for us to grow our fund balance is to cut our expenses. We don't control the revenue side, we control the expense side. And so we have to be real careful with how we do that. And so we know that we have a fund balance shortage, we have a fund balance target that we need to put into our financial policies, which is, I think, we're having a policy meeting Wednesday. And so it's important for us to move that ball forward and really be focused on what that policy does. It attempts to codify through ordinance a law in terms of what our financial policy is going to be for this board and for future boards. And the only way to change it will be to take and change it through the codification process. So that's it in a nutshell in terms of the budget document. Good news, financial reports, not bad. Budget report, yeah, we have some work to do. But in the end, we'll continue to do that, and we will figure out what to do. And I could give you some specific numbers, but they're not really relevant to the discussion about how we got off here.
Do we have any updates on our audit?
We have signed a contract. This is interesting. I'm glad you asked that question, Commissioner Cooper. I'm trying to. It's difficult for me. This is one of those don't quote me. I think I'm remembering now just from the top of my head. We signed a contract for the 2022 audit at the cost of about $42,000, give or take. Okay. In the budget for 25, in this budget document that I'm talking about, I have an audit budget number of $80,000. What you're trying to do is do 2 audits at once, okay? One piggybacking on the other, so that's why you have to double the money. You try to speed it up. So we're moving forward on that audit, but at the same time trying to move forward with 23. So I met with the finance group this week, and so we will continue to use some outsourced contractors. I'm also trying to take it on board our own finance director, and that way we'll be tag teaming this to try to get both audits done. Because we've also received a letter, y'all have received a letter, and it's worth talking about. Since we have not submitted our 2023 audit report, we are subject to a penalty from the state where they will withhold 1.5 times the audited money, what they used for the contract, in our local option sales tax. So if our contract's $42,000, they will be able to withhold $60,000 of our lost revenue, which is the second high, or actually the top high stream of revenue for the town of Spring Lake. We gotta get this done. So does that answer your question?
Yes.
Carly has done a little research today on appealing. Not that we're gonna win an appeal, but we're gonna appeal. So Carly's helped me with a little research. I just haven't been able to circle back around to it other than what she said. So.
Now, we haven't spoken to Kendra about this, because we know the letter is automatically generated, but having the LGC staff in-house, and the letter's coming from the department that they work for, and we're under LGC control, we still have to submit an extension letter?
Yes, we still have to submit appeals. They actually have, I get it, but yes, we have to submit an appeal, because you're not looking at Spring Lake, you're looking at the state of North Carolina. And so, in terms of all the municipalities who may or may not be late on the audits. And so I did follow up with, one of the LGC meetings. I cannot recite the numbers, but there were so many that were late on it. 5 have already appealed, so many have already submitted their audits, so forth and so on. So it's a numbers issue, but it's not just Spring Lake, it's the state as a whole.
My concern is that it's their office that's sending the letter, but they're on site and they're, okay, we'll submit the.
I get it, but
Yep,
we will continue to move forward as positively as we can.
absolutely. Do you have anything else to say?
That's it.
Awesome. Well, with that being the conclusion of our agenda.
So.
Meeting